hired up there because I met people that were working on it. Intertwined myself with some Boston people.
It's all loaded and stuff.
I show up at Madeiros Pier, which is in South Boston. There's a passenger ship coming in, Norwegian Dawn. There's the state police.
Scituate, right? I mean, but that's the problem.
All eyeballs and shit. And Buddy Dale's like, what the hell's the matter with you? Yesterday I was up the North River, there were 2 ducks and a seal that who I was working with. I says, this is just.
This is a little different.
Yeah, this is crazy.
You know, he wants to be around for the grandkids kind of thing. I mean, so there's something, there's a goal there. I mean, so
How many
you
times
need
do they have
stuff.
to work on that?
Probably 3 of us.
No, I think you do. So you-
I think he's gonna be around here.
Probably 3 of us.
What?
And the guy
I
that,
think he would be
again,
around
networking,
here.
this is the guy that, another guy that I.
Because of course I still
worked
like
out
him,
there.
it's,
He calls me now if he gets
But it's like-
or something. We trade work, so.
Yeah.
I had some fishing down in Duxbury.
free, I don't say free rent, he's gonna do all the electric in my beach house.
4 hours, he suited up, sat in the
I
boat,
did free
watched.
rent for 5 years in the warehouse.
He goes, I owe you one.
Thousands and thousands of dollars. And what am I gonna say with what?
But the guy's
friend
hired
of
us.
mine,
How do you
I
think the
said to
sand,
him,
how do you think the
I
sand
feel bad that he has to sit there, but you gotta realize it's on the outside, water needs
Right,
to
you have
be.
somebody there.
Immediately go in. I
Once they
said,
get
no,
the
he
signals,
understands.
send them around the corners.
Did the right
There
thing.
you go.
Yeah.
Big, it's big.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
They're gonna get used to it.
Huh?
They're gonna get used to it. It's
I
gonna
would
go
think so,
fast.
yeah.
Right ahead.
Board of Health meeting, Scituate Board of Health meeting will officially open for May 6, 2013. Welcome.
And I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, but I didn't bring my copy either, so. I think we can figure out what it is. My memory, I just forget which,
Well,
which address was first.
Don't remember.
I think we're aware it was first, right?
That is just one?
Waterbury?
Just so you know, Mary's been out sick today, my phone today did not work. So every time I needed the phone, I had to answer the phone, I had to trust her. And it was extremely busy, so I haven't really.
Excuse me, but could you please speak louder? I don't hear well.
I don't have everything the way I want to have it. I'm not sure what she's got. Where she's got it.
You need a motion to accept the agenda, did that get seconded?
I made the motion, but I don't know what it's on, what it says.
Yeah.
You don't have one in there, do you?
Something we can pull off the computer?
Oh, you want?
I
All
can,
right, I moved it. Just, do you remember which one was first?
oh, yeah, I do. I'll get it.
Sorry, guy. We're usually a little more organized.
That's what happens when the secretary's out sick. We're all lost. I hope she's feeling better. Here it is.
There we go.
Thank you. And timing is perfect. Look at that, 7:10 PM. Well, do you want to do the?
Yeah, move to accept the agenda as printed here.
There you go.
Got it.
Seconded, all those in favor? Aye. All right, moving right along. 7:10 PM, public hearing, housing complaints, 12 Whortleberry Lane.
Okay, I requested, Veronica Charbonneau, the owner of 12 Warburg Lane, be here tonight because we have a history of problems at that address. Most, I've known Vicky is her name, and we go by for a number of years, and we originally got called there because of a fire. She had too much material in a room near a fireplace and it caught fire, and she cleaned up that room. Then I got a complaint, I forget how, if it was possibly fire or not, fire department or not, or of accessing the place, and I went in, and it was a case of hoarding. It was quite bad. I worked with her, and she got the bathroom fixed, and she got her smoke alarms working, and she cleared a path from, she cleared through the breezeway, and she cleared the path through the house from the back door to the front door.
Are you here for 12 Whortleberry?
Yeah, this is Mrs. Charbonneau.
Oh, sure. Do you want to come right up to the table? You can come right up if you can hear better, please.
Well, I don't hear much. And then she got that done, and the kitchen was usable. She had to get some new appliances. And then once the path was made, there was very little progress made after that. And for a couple of years now, I have tried to get in to reevaluate the status, and although Ms. Charbonneau has made several appointments, she's canceled them all, and I have not been in for probably a couple of years. And we have received a couple of complaints within the last month or two about the condition of the yard. She legitimately has had some medical issues that, were valid reasons for me to agree to cancel the appointments. But on the other hand, the magnitude of the problem and the safety issue needs more attention than I think she's able to give. She is a very independent woman. She would prefer to do most of it herself. Her nearest family that she is willing to allow to help is in Albany and not able to be very regularly. I hooked her up with Scituate Elder Services because she said she would agree for some help, and they could offer that help. She just recently told me that she didn't trust them because she was afraid they would report to me. What I was hoping they would report to me was that they were making progress in getting it cleaned up,
Right.
But that didn't happen. So I don't know. I know I spoke to a couple of you about my concerns about this address and asked you to do a ride-by. I don't know if you were able to do that or not. But since I spoke to her and cited her for the yard problem, she asked me for a week's extension, and I reluctantly gave it to her. And this morning, when I did a ride by, I could still see a bunch of material around the pod in the driveway area.
Was there progress?
And there was, overall, yes, but was it totally cleaned up? No. And it looks to me like the hoarding problem could be reoccurring, because I'm seeing stuff piled against the living room window and the doorway and the breezeway, and she still has not allowed me access. I am prepared to go to court and get a warrant, administrative search warrant if necessary, because I believe it can be that bad in there. I respect her independent nature, so want to do things herself. My concern is that she, due to some recent ailments, she may not be physically able to do that. And I'm not sure, based on the length of time that this problem has lasted, that she fully realizes the seriousness and need to clean up. I mean, I don't think it would probably be safe for emergency help to get through in there.
Right.
And the fact that there have been fires before concerns me. She's told me she has had problems with her heating, and that she has used space heaters when her regular heating system wasn't working, and considering the way she has accumulated things, that really does scare me.
Is there anybody here on behalf of this? No.
We're residents on the street.
Oh, you are? You're here for this? Okay. All right.
Friendly neighbors.
Is there anything to add, like to hear, to what Jennifer said?
Sure. I'm from 20 Warbury. My property abuts this property in question.
Yeah.
There has definitely been some progress over the past few weeks on cleaning up the yard. We are, as I think everybody is in this room, concerned about the safety and fire safety, excess of emergency, whatever it might be in that area, whether it's around the house, in the house. As we know, in dry weather, fire spreads very, very quickly. We've had 2 very dry years, and we're concerned about that. We're concerned about fire.
Okay. Are you at the same address or no?
I am across the street at 21 Warbury,
Yeah.
and same concerns of fire and how quickly it would spread.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need your names for the record.
Oh, sure. Christine Wilkinson Donovan.
Dan Gerard,
Dan Gerard. Okay. And your address again? 20. Did you hear them, ma'am?
Pardon me?
Did you hear them and understand them?
I certainly did.
The concerns? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not denying the concern.
Okay.
But I do want to make some comments when it's my turn.
Absolutely. Yes. Guys, good? All right, thank you. Please.
Okay, about that fireplace incident, why that happened was because I was working nights, and I came off duty, and I went to a religious experience, which was all day long. And when I came home, my cats loved the fireplace, and so I made a fire, and I fell asleep. That was the thing I did that was wrong. And I had put a log in that was a little bit too big, and it hit a piece of paper. And that's how, I don't even make a fire that often.
Yeah.
It's just that I did that particular night, and that's what happened, and
It was an accident.
I was lucky to be alive. The only thing was I was continuing the meditation, and the only thing that got me alive is the click of the tape went off, and I heard it, and I saw the fire, and it wasn't that big, but it was big enough to scare me to death, and I lost my pets. So that was.
And you do have heat.
It is true that I was a collector, but I think that people who are alone, I want to say, I'm not criticizing their but I have been working so hard on it. But a lot of things have happened, and I'd like to tell you some of those if you want to hear about them. I'm not trying to, set the world on fire. I have worked my whole life, and I started at 3 years old because I became what I used to always say, the great expectations. And it started at that young age. And I was that way throughout my career, and out of my whole class, I was the only person who was invited to be on the faculty. So I think that says that I'm not some kind of a creep. I've taught major education, but when I retired in before, I started becoming a collector. And I did wood carving. I went, after I retired, I went and studied art, and so I had a lot of stuff. I was collecting wood because different woods for different things that I was doing. And it got out of hand because I didn't have that kind of time, I didn't retire till I was 75, and towards the end I had 2 jobs because somebody that knew me asked me to go help out at UMass Boston, which I did, and I was it just turned out that it was a low for a while. But anyway, that explains that. But I tried to follow Jennifer's directions, but a lot of things kept happening that nobody wanted to listen to. And I want to tell you, if you will hear, some of the things anyway. And yes, I had an illness, but I didn't have an illness that was hurting me that way. What happened is I had stiffness in my back, and I kept lifting myself up, and this is the most recent thing that we're talking about. And what happened was, I tore a ligament in my shoulder, and it's my left arm, and I'm left-handed. So that stopped me cold, because I went to see my doctor, and the doctor said to me, oh, you're getting up there in years, you probably have arthritis. And I knew I didn't have arthritis. So I waited to give him the benefit of the doubt. I waited almost a month until I was getting about 2 hours sleep because of the pain. And I went to the after hours place, and the first thing they did was x-ray, and they found a tear, and I was scheduled for surgery. And that has slowed me down because of lifting. I once lifted a 300-pound lady, so I can lift things. But I think that's really what was wrong with my back.
Yeah.
And true. But there were incidents like this, that wouldn't happen to people like these, to single people. Like one night, my neighbor came over and said, "Well, why don't you come?" This was when the Super Bowl was on, not this year, but the year before. And so I knew that I should go and get some stuff, but I don't drive at night because I have got cataracts, which are coming out soon. But anyway, what happened was there was a tremendous amount of traffic, and I said to myself, well, which way should I go home, the back road? Or, because I don't like to drive when I can't see well, without the blinkers and those new cars. And so I made the mistake of going the back road, and it was fine for a while. because the guys could go as fast as they wanted, and then I was the first one in line. Well, if you go up that back road, it's 25 miles an hour in some places, 35 in some places, 40, but there's no protection on the side of the road. And this traffic was coming, and the glare from those new lights made it difficult. So I was stopping and going.
Mm-hmm.
And so some hero called the police department, and when I got almost home, 3 police cars jumped me. And I thought, gee, I must have robbed a bank or something. And a tow truck came. And they said, what happened? And I was stunned, and so I didn't know what to say. So I just said I couldn't see. And so they called some other guy that came, a couple strikes on the shoulder, and he said, I'm going to get your license. And I just shut right up, because a friend of mine had been stopped by those very same policemen from Cohasset, and they raped her. And not only that, she was coming from a cancer.
Yeah. Was this the second incident that the police came or someone to your house? Is that what you're describing?
No.
Oh. Well, I think, I'm sorry to hear about the ailments and things that had happened, but the issue here tonight is the house and the condition of it. And it's not only for the safety of you, but it's for the safety of the neighbors as well. It's a health concern. And, a dirty yard can harbor vomit and other things in the house being cluttered. It's not healthy, and it could be a fire hazard, as proven already. And if somebody has to get in that house, it's an issue. So at some point, the town has to get involved to protect the citizens. And I think Jennifer, as she stated earlier, has tried to work with you very well to not step on your private rights, but at some point, we have to see progress. And that's why we're here tonight.
I appreciate that. But,
Yeah.
but all I'm trying to do is, there's about 20 things that kept happening to me that slowed me down from getting what I was trying to do done. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right. So you're on track now? Is that what you're saying? Are you getting on?
That's part of the whole business of things that were happening.
Yeah.
That I couldn't help.
If you was
because-
to clean the yard, start cleaning the yard, would you try to do it yourself, or would you have help?
I do. I know how to clean.
Okay.
I know how to.
I don't think we
clean.
question that.
But the
Yeah.
problem was that after I had surgery twice, 3 times actually. I had surgery because I'm trying to think of how that started. Well, anyway.
Is there
Let me ask this, ma'am, is there a reason why you were able to make it here tonight? Why in the next week you couldn't have Ms. Sullivan come in and do an inspection of your home?
I would have had her in before, but I wanted it to be perfect before.
Well,
Okay.
it's too much time has passed, so I think what we need to do is have an inspection within the next week.
Well, please not the next week, because I'm going to have, if I can get away with just having a pass, because I've had the guy, I have tried to do what she asked.
I understand
I
that.
hired a guy 3 times, and he didn't come, so that's out. I hired another guy, and he didn't come. Okay, so that's out. At this point, I'm willing to, she told me to get the junk man. Well, I got the junk man. What she has seen, we worked hard on the yard, and why those things got there is that when I was sicker, I was too weak after I shopped, to bring stuff in, and so that was a very bad habit, and that's true. It was a very bad habit. Now, most of that stuff is gone, but I had trouble with my car the day the guy.
Can I ask you, on the elder services,
Hmm?
have you refused help from the South Shore Elder Services? Have they been there to offer help?
I have talked to Nick, you mean with Nicholas?
Yeah.
Yes, I have talked to him, but he doesn't call. And he offered somebody that I thought was much too expensive. and had too many restrictions about hours and stuff. That's not what I need. I don't need somebody to just go in and throw stuff away. I'm willing to do that myself. And that's what I've been doing. But then they had a switch to the yard, so I didn't know all those trees were down because I was busy in the hospital and going to exercises and hadn't gone out in the back. My nieces and nephews came and we worked on that, and that's going to continue.
Do you want an appointment tonight, Jennifer? Can we make an appointment tonight for you to get in the house?
I want an appointment tonight, and I want a deadline.
Well, just remember, I'm going for surgery on the 20th for eye surgery, and I had to let that go before, because of the arm, they wouldn't do it. So I really would appreciate, I'm willing to do this, I'm not unwilling.
Ma'am, it sounds to me like you need some help.
I do need some help.
Okay.
But I don't need somebody that complains all the time and just wants to throw things away. I need a sort.
Well, you're gonna have to find somebody who can work with you, help you.
That's what I want, it's just
Okay.
somebody to
But
help me.
We can't
I
let
don't
this
want
go on.
somebody to throw everything away.
We can't let
that's
this go
sitting.
on for much longer. So is there a particular time, do you want Ms. Sullivan to come over, or should we pick the time ourselves?
Oh, I'd rather wait till after my surgery.
Not
You can't do that, it's waited too long, that's the
Well,
problem.
Within the next week, I want, give us a time that you can have her come
Well, the
over.
last day of the week,
Friday.
Okay.
This Friday,
What time? If you-
as late as possible.
11 o'clock in the morning.
What's the date on
I think we need to explain to her the ramifications if she doesn't
Yeah.
meet with her and the potential of condemnation.
I mean, I can't-
I think we need to explain to her the ramifications of her not being there and the process of a condemnation.
The point is, we don't want this appointment broken again.
Okay,
It's,
I won't
it's
break
Friday at
it up
11,
too,
yes.
As best as I can. I certainly will have paths clear because I've already got them half clear. And a lot of the stuff that's around there now is just boxes for storage that I had. So I could take the boxes and get rid of those. And I have a storage bin to put things in, away from here. And this is just temporary thing because I want to paint and do.
Well, that's good, it sounds like you have a plan, and we
I do
we
have a
want you to
plan.
work with us. We want it
I do
to
have
go
a-
without any other intervention,
I
that's,
am not lazy, and I never gave up
I don't-
to illness before, but I don't have the same strength I had when I was 82, now that I'm 82.
understood.
So you want a deadline for the entire property to be cleaned up? Is that what you're saying, Jennifer?
I want a deadline for the yard, and I want to be in the house for an inspection.
Right.
The results of the inspection may result in coming back here to discuss the house. It depends. I have no idea, what it looks like. It's been quite a while, and it scares me when I know what the house used to look like, and you tell me you're using space heaters. I mean, you're using space heaters when you have heat
No,
problems.
now you misinterpret what I told you.
Well, what kind of
Well-
heat, what kind of heat do you
I
have?
didn't, I have some heaters, and I have used them on 2 occasions in all these years.
Yeah, I think the point is the safety point. So what we have is an appointment for Friday, and if that is broken, then we're gonna have to take the route of a court order. And
Okay.
that's gonna force us to go into the house, which we don't wanna do. That's not what we're here for, but if we have to, we have to. And unfortunately, if things aren't corrected, then we go down a condemnation road, and we don't wanna do that
Well,
either.
if you think I can get all of inside and outside done in 1 week,
No,
We gotta
that's
s-
not what I'm saying.
No,
I'm saying I want the yard done, and and we can give a deadline for this. It's up to the board when that deadline is. And I want to go into the house this week, which would be, Friday would be the 10th, at 11 a.m. Failing that, we'll get a court order going. And depending on the conditions of the house, I will report to the board, and the board can decide what further work is needed and a deadline for that. Failing to meet the deadline, then the board can decide whether they want to condemn or not.
I don't think it's worth condemning. I do think it's worth getting straightened out, and I would certainly appreciate getting it straightened out, because I don't particularly like being crowded in with stuff.
So,
And can
ma'am,
I just ask the neighbors, and in other cases we've had similar to this, neighbors have offered to help, and some people have either refused to help, or the neighbors have helped, and is that something that's, do you know, has ever been offered, or, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, I'm just, in other cases, there has been neighbor, because.
The direct neighbors across have certainly helped. I think that the biggest issue is that there's two problems. There is the cleaning up, and then there's the discarding, and discarding has to be professional service. There's no, there's no humanly way possible that one person, especially, and a person who is has some injuries or illness or history, that can possibly do that. It's impossible. So,
what is it that's in the yard?
Pardon me?
I'm asking the gentleman, what's in the yard, the big stuff that needs to be carted away?
well, there's some overturned rowboats. There's some broken lawn mowers.
There's nothing wrong with that, no, the
The
lawn
rowboat's
mowers
been turned
have
over for
gone.
25 years.
No, that's fine, yeah, we'll end it at that.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, yeah.
I went by.
Yeah, that's
All right,
it.
so it sounds to me like we need a couple of motions here, and then we can,
All right, so we're gonna
I'm allowed to have goats
do,
in my yard. I'm allowed to have goats in my yard.
Yes,
don't I?
and nobody's
Okay.
questioning that, yeah.
so,
They're overturned because I don't want them full of water.
Yeah, no,
so we're gonna make a motion to inspect on
so,
Friday.
yeah, so if we're ready for a motion, I've got a couple, so we'll do one at a time. I think it makes sense to do one
Fair
at a
enough.
time. We've made an appointment for this Friday, May 10th at 11 a.m. that Jennifer's going to visit you. I move that in the event that that appointment is not kept, that we authorize Jennifer to go into court to get an order to inspect the premises. That's my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now with respect to the yard, I move that the yard be cleaned up by May 17th, so that gives you 2 full weeks starting today, during the week to do that.
There isn't that much in the yard right now.
Okay?
And that's
good.
perfect. 2 weeks should be fine.
Hmm?
2 weeks should be fine then
When's
if
our
there's
next
not that
meeting?
much.
Pardon me?
When's our next meeting?
The next meeting is going to be on the 20th. So the motion is that the yard be cleaned up by May 17th. In the event that it's not, we'll put this on for a status
Yeah.
in any event at our next meeting, which is on the 20th. But if it's not cleaned up by the 17th, the board will entertain a discussion and decision as to whether to condemn the property.
Yeah, I would just change that to the 19th at that point. Just
Give it the
a few days.
weekend?
Yeah.
Give it the weekend. That would be
Okay,
nice.
fair enough.
Yeah, and, yeah, we can come by on Monday morning or something to
Okay, well,
inspect.
Jen, yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
19th, so as amended, 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. So second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Now, I don't complain about barking dogs. Does that count any?
Different board,
Yep, that's not our department.
yeah. Animal control.
Thank you. Just try to cooperate with Ms. Sullivan, and we hope not to see you
I'm not
again.
a cooperative person, and I would have appreciated any help that I might have gotten, but I got no help. So that's okay. But I'm just doing the best I can, and unfortunately, I had some things, and it was hard to set priorities, and they were not things that I had any control over.
We understand.
One
Understood.
was a suicide of the nephew that we did it because he was angry that he wanted me to go and take care of him the rest of his life. And his behavior made me say no after things that he did. but I've just had a lot of stuff. Any one of them you can handle, but all of them overwhelm.
I hear you, we all have busy lives, it can be tough, but, sorry to say we're,
I'm not uncooperative, I would have had this stuff done if these things had.
Okay.
I didn't expect to spend my retirement cleaning house and stuff. You know, that.
Thank you for coming in.
All you have to do
Like
is
Jennifer.
just do it once. and
Hmm?
If you do it once, then you don't have to do it a second time.
Well, yes, but I'm not gonna get every room in the house done by that. because
Do
it's-
that.
all right. Well, thank you for coming in tonight, we do appreciate you keeping this appointment.
Appreciate
and
getting it straightened out.
There you go, all right, and any questions, please don't hesitate to contact
Yeah,
Jennifer.
okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move right along, 7:20 PM, public hearing, condemnation, 48 Townway Extension.
Okay, what you have before you is an agreement that
Hope you enjoy yourself.
I worked out with the Slocums and with his attorney, Mr. Duggan, that he will give us the non-habitation agreement that we required from 46 Townway Extension.
Okay.
That was later than Friday. Originally, the son was handling it for the older father, and they wanted an extension to do the Title V inspection, and I told the attorney who lives in town and grew up here and is familiar with the Piccadilly Beach area that I saw no reason for an extension since it's been over a year since the original order to do the inspection. And number two, there was no way his system could pass, and I would prefer, rather than wasting his money on inspection that was going to fail, that he put the money towards just fixing the system. Well, which sounded reasonable to the attorney, but he had to speak with his client. And you'll notice on his letter that, he's not particularly happy about this agreement, or my opinion that his system will fail. But since Phil Spath called me while the water was coming up under his house where his system is, I don't see any way in the storm in time.
And on the
Days
electric-
after the storm, I don't see how it could
Are
have.
they gonna be in the same boat with the electricity? I mean, the electric company's not bringing the electricity down anytime
Well,
soon.
there has been some movement there. National Grid has met with the owners, and
The two
the,
owners.
no.
Oh, all the owners, okay, the whole staff.
Yeah, well, I don't know that every owner could be at the meeting, but at least they were notified, is my understanding. And from what I was talking to Alice, the owners are going to have a street created at their own expense behind, I think, the major row of houses. And National Grid will be putting the poles up and along that road. And there's hope to get it up and functional before the summer.
Wow.
We'll see. I have no idea how it's all working out, but apparently that's their business, and, we can live in hope that, something works out for them. On the other hand, Ms. Moran contacted me today, asking if we had money for betterment loans, and we really only have about $1,500 left in the account. But I am noticing a more frequent request for them, and that may even increase more once the official go-ahead is given in June for connection of systems in the Munisquasit area to the sewer. But that we have to go, I believe, through the town to request more money, and the budget already said, I don't know if that's possible or not. But I will make an inquiry to the town administrator, and at least let her know about the increase in requests. as I explained to her, I said a lot of people went with the refinancing because with refinancing, they were able to deduct the mortgage interest. And that would not have been the case on this particular instrument. So, that's where we said, I was agreeable to this, and I hope I didn't usurp the board's authority, but this is what we originally asked.
This is perfect.
We originally asked for, and I think it is equivalent to what we have from the neighbor. Hopefully going forward, we'll get that problem.
And this is supposed to be in by what, you said, the end of this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did.
And if it doesn't, then we just,
We could proceed with the condemnation.
Okay.
If you want to. He did want to be able to still go up and have lunch on his deck, and I said, yeah, you can do that. You just, there's just no.
can't spend the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at those houses and with the height of the pilings, wonder how they haven't fallen over yet, but Mother Nature hasn't gotten that far. They do.
Give it another year or two.
I know, they push the sand back after every storm, which, somewhere, I think, in what that sand used to have was a system, but I don't really think it's there. So,
Okay, so we just continue this?
You can ask to vote on anything? No.
I would just say that you approve the concept of accepting this letter provided it is submitted
Yeah.
as written,
Right. Move to approve the, for 48 Townway Extension, the proposed agreement attached to the letter of Kellum and Kellum dated May 6, 2013, and to authorize the Director of Public Health to enter into and have the owner execute that agreement in lieu of the hearing on condemnation. With the understanding that if it's not signed by May 10th, that we'll proceed with the condemnation hearing at the next public meeting.
Is there a second on that?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on, old business. Wind turbine testing update.
The only thing I have to add, Gordon gave me sort of a chronological rundown of where we're at, which I didn't download in print. But as the board knows from individual discussions with each of you, DEP returned the protocol that was submitted with some comments. One was that perhaps the high tide wasn't a necessary factor to be tested. The board and Mr. Dean all agreed that it was, and so that continues to be a criteria for the testing as far as the town is concerned. And also they wanted the slow method of the L10 testing, and Tech Environmental agreed to that. So that now, when the information is received, we can compare apples with apples with other, is available for comparison with other tests that have been done on other wind turbines. According to Gordon, that Tech Environmental and the community groups consultant have already been in discussions.
Excellent.
About winter testing, and the conditions are not favorable through Friday for testing this week. It's a combination of the winds and the rain that's expected. So that's the latest update on that.
So the tide thing, the DEP says don't do it at a flood high tide, but we're going to continue to do it at a flood high tide? Is that the way I understood that?
They said don't wait for a tide. Essentially, they didn't think the tide made a difference in that, and that they would
Could make it worse.
And they would rather see the testing done sooner than waiting around for a tide.
They
I don't think.
actually said
The ripple effect.
It would baffle it.
Yeah.
It would
Right.
lessen the
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there seems to be some.
It would
so
heighten
we-
the ambient sound, so it would, yeah, it would heighten the ambient
Heighten
sound.
the ambient sound is what they were saying.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, as someone who drives by that marsh regularly, when it gets really flooded, it's more often than not flat.
Yes.
And I think that's what the Third Cliff people were talking about. So, given what we heard from the Third Cliff people, I think it makes sense to just go ahead and try and do one of the tests at the high tide. Everybody seems to be willing to do that, so to me, and it happens, you know, it happens within a month, right? You have a high tide like that once a month.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
how hard is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's it? That's good? All right, we'll move on. Fluoridation discussion, which is continued from our last meeting. And I guess last meeting, we heard from
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Mrs. Fitzgerald about reasons not to have fluoride in the water. And this meeting, I guess we could take some discussion on the benefits of having fluoride in the water. And is there anything you want to start, or can I, don't? Yeah.
Why don't we have, we've gotten a lot of that literature from a couple different sources, right? Is there, are they willing to come in and discuss it?
The Mass Department of Public Health did contact me and did offer some pro-fluoride information, which I passed along in email to the board, which is how I received it. And they did offer to send a speaker if we would like. But meanwhile, I had been talking with Russell, and he said that he was pretty sure that Dr. Parsons would come. I did not put Dr. Parsons' name on the agenda because I didn't have confirmation of his attendance by the time that the agenda had to be posted. My understanding that he was one of our local dentists whose father was instrumental in having this added to the town water supply, and that he's here to speak tonight. So if the board would like somebody from that the state could arrange to send, then we could do that too. But I wanted to have our native dentist here have the first say.
And I guess that was your introduction. The floor is yours.
I mean, I guess I would start by saying that I think the burden of proof here is not on me to prove that fluoridation is a benefit, because every major health organization the last 50 years has reviewed carefully done scientific studies, and the Center for Disease Control, the American Dental Association, the American Medical Association, reviewed careful studies and concluded that small amounts of fluoride, infinitesimal amounts of fluoride, 1 part per million of additional fluoride in the water had a substantial positive impact on children's dental health. It reduced the rate of tooth decay, and that can't be contested. Any intelligent person, I think we can all accept that as a fact. Fluoride is beneficial in the water. Fluoride in the water is beneficial. It reduces tooth decay. That is indisputable. The issue is it also harmful? And my answer to that would simply be that just because somebody says it's harmful doesn't mean it is harmful. You can go on the internet and you can read just about that lemon juice is harmful. I'm sure you can find tomato juice is harmful. Anything. And because there's somebody out there who's going to claim it. The question is, are there any carefully done, reputable studies which withstand scientific scrutiny? If they're submitted to the the Journal of the American Medical Society, the New England Journal of Medicine, will those journals look at these studies and say these are good studies and that they pass muster? And let me tell you, they don't. If they are there, they would be submitted. If they were legitimate, some science was done and and they were submitted to these organizations, and if they were legitimate, they would get published. And if they got published, we'd know it in a heartbeat. Over 100 million people in this country drink water with fluoride in it. And if there was a legitimate study out there vetted by a reputable journal, it would be on CNN and in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the very next day.
Yeah.
The fact is, it's not. And why is it not? Because there are no credible studies. I mean, that's really it. I mean, that's the basis of my entire argument. I can also tell you that it's 1 part per million. The toothpaste that we all use, because it's very difficult to find toothpaste without fluoride, is 900 parts per million. Now, unless you use a teeny tiny amount, like you're consuming more as adults, more than 1 part per million. So we're taking water, fluoride out of our water, is not going to have a significant impact on the amount of fluoride we consume every day when we brush our teeth.
And the question we had last meeting, that 1 part per million.
Yes.
Has that changed? Has it always,
It's, no, that has
40
been the
years ago?
standard, that's been the standard for 50 years. 1 part per million, that's considered safe. Now, I could get into a whole history of how, I mean, there are many parts of the country, the Southwest in particular, where fluoride occurs naturally, up to 4 parts per million. Now, if fluoride were harmful, you would expect, I mean, you can do what's called an epidemiological study, and where you look at the health of a community where there's not naturally occurring fluoride, like Massachusetts, and look at a community like somewhere in Arizona where there are high levels, and compare the health rates. If there are higher levels of cancer in Arizona than Massachusetts? No. All right, multiple sclerosis, and whatever. These studies, there are no studies like that. So even in areas where fluoride occurs in the water naturally, there aren't higher disease rates that are claimed by opponents, who, by the way, have been making these arguments since 1948, when it was first proposed. I mean, that's been it. Don't put fluoride in the water, it's harmful. It's a poison. It is a poison at very high levels. So, I mean, all I'm saying is, if you make the decision to take fluoride out of the water, in my opinion, you're going to adversely affect the health of kids in this community whose teeth I've been taking care of for 30 years, more than 30 years, and I see the difference, even in Scituate teeth. I mean, my staff and I, my hygienist and I say, oh, good Scituate teeth, the kid who comes in at 18 without a speck of decay, good Scituate teeth, as opposed to the Marshfield teeth, which aren't quite so good.
because they don't have it.
They don't have it.
And have they never had it?
Never had it. So, I mean, the argument for it requires more cognition. The argument against it is, don't contaminate my water. And it's simple. The argument for it is, hey, it's highly cost effective. It's beneficial, it requires no compliance, it's there, it's incredibly inexpensive. Average filling in this country is $140. The cost to fluoridate water for a lifetime is half that. So it's low cost, it's highly effective, that's well established, and there's no evidence of harm. So that's it. I mean, I don't have to go on any longer than that.
I thought Jennifer passed around the studies, and I hope were you able to send them to Ms. Fitzpatrick, the CDC and all those other things, because we should probably let her read what it is that we're reading, so that we're all on the same page. But they were what I thought, because I had thought that the CDC was pretty strong still in favor of fluoridation. And, the EPA, I think, considers fluoride to be a hazardous substance. There's no dispute about that, and people get lost, and we're finding this out in a different context about what small doses are versus big doses, and how that makes a big difference in science. So I hear what you're saying there. I guess the question I have, though, is when you say that there's so much fluoride in the toothpaste, and the dental care is so much better than it was 50 years ago, and most people bring their kids to the dentist these days, and that type of thing. In fact, a lot of the parents should probably go themselves. Is the reason no longer there? And I can understand some people's instincts about not wanting the government to force this medical treatment on me in a way. If you can get the fluoride from these other sources, why do it?
But you can't. You can't. You have to add the fluoride. We're talking about from infancy. When do permanent teeth start calcifying? At birth. So it's from birth to 6 years that it's critical.
So before you start brushing your teeth.
Yeah. So, okay, you're not in the fluoride community, take that little dropper and give your kid vitamins with fluoride.
Mhm.
You do that. It's expensive, requires compliance, and therefore, it's not as effective. Costs more, it's not as effective. And it's harmless. That's the point. So do something that is inexpensive and will have a broad benefit. And it's not the same as brushing your teeth. Well, my point was that it's not harmful. If it was, we'd all be in trouble, because we're all, as adults, we're using 900 parts per million toothpaste, in some cases 5,000 parts per million toothpaste. We're ingesting a lot more than a single part per million.
Right.
It's insignificant. It's minuscule, insignificant, except in the case of children between the ages of 0 and 6. That's my thing.
Okay. Do you think it would make sense for the community to revisit their decision of 50-something years ago?
Do I think it would make sense? No. Do I think they have a right? Of course.
Okay. I guess I phrased it poorly. You're right. You're right. You know, I think from my own point of view, and I'm going to read more of the studies on this before we make a decision, even though I want to remind the board that I'm not going to be on the board for the rest of, you know, my term is up, so I think it probably makes some sense to try and do something, reach some decision point before I'm gone. My own view of it is that the board needs to make a judgment as to whether there is a negative or positive health effect. I think as we discussed the last time, if there's a negative health effect on people from having all of this fluoride, and you can get it from other sources under a more monitored type of arrangement, then it might make sense to get rid of it. But I thought there were other studies out there that said that there was a significant health benefit, and Jennifer shared a lot of them with us, and well, I haven't finally decided that. I think that you're right that at least in terms of the journals where these studies are published, the better journals seem to all have the ones that say there is a positive health impact.
So-and-so's health news claims,
Yeah,
states. No, that's not a study. That's somebody's statement. You
But-
need studies. You need studies. That's how science works.
Notwithstanding that, I think that there is a chance that there could be a citizen's petition and something presented to the next town meeting. So I think the board would be well advised to be fully advised. How's that sound? On that, so that I think the town meeting is certainly entitled to hear the judgment of the Board of Health as to why it did or did not decide that fluoridation was a good thing.
Sure.
So I appreciate you coming in too.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No?
I
Quick-
do actually.
Yeah, quick comment, sure. Yeah. Could you, state your name and address for the board.
Cheryl Bradley Fitzgerald, 84 Booth Hill Road, Scituate, Mass. I did have a couple of things to add from the last meeting, which was to draw the attention of the board to two things, which was, number one, there was a cluster cancer study that was done, I believe, across Massachusetts, and I do have a copy of that here, which I could certainly get a better copy of. I've written all over it. And also the assessment of drinking water quality and cancer incidence in Scituate, Mass. For a 10-year study that was published in August of 2001. And again, for review and.
Yeah, if you get it to Jennifer and
Okay.
Mary, they can circulate copies to each of us.
Okay, and
That would
I
be
did
great.
have actually a couple more studies that were done by Dr. Roger Masters, and I do actually have copies of those. He has listed several. He's from Dartmouth, teaches at Dartmouth, I was able to actually locate one of the ones that was entitled Toxins, Disease, and Behavior, which was linking specific toxins to disease and how that can actually alter some behavior. He was trying to tie it into violent behavior, that kind of thing.
Were these specifically before?
Yes, actually, they do, and I do have
Okay.
a copy that I can give to you, and also a list of some of the other studies that he has done. But I did also want to ask a couple of questions as far as just talking with a couple of my neighbors, and they were concerned, and they wanted to know if there was some sort of thing that the board may or may not be able to comment on as far as what would it take to get the Board of Health or the town to stop adding it as soon as possible, as far as a petition or et cetera, or if that petition could encompass something that would be, in other words, what can I do to petition the townspeople to kind of see the road that I'm going down? What can I do
Yeah,
right
I
now?
think I alluded to that.
Should I go to petition status? Can I go ahead and,
The action.
or is that just up to me?
The action of the, I mean, you could,
So let me answer this. You have two choices, I think, and if I miss something here, you tell me. The Board of Health's job is to make sure that we protect the health of the citizens of Scituate, okay? If you can convince us that there is valid and scientific evidence that outweighs, that the risk outweighs the benefit, the board itself, I think, has the power to stop the town, okay? Failing that, the town meeting is the entity, and that's our legislative body in Scituate, as it is for most of the cities and or towns, at least in the Commonwealth, is the legislative body. They're the body that actually approved fluoridation here in the way back, and they can undo that. You would need to petition the town meeting and go through that process.
Question. Because I know that there's a special election coming out for the Senate. Okay, that's a no. It would have to be a
Annual town meeting.
I think we have a special town meeting, which is almost a special annual town meeting in October, November, and then the annual town meeting is in March.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Again, I just wanted to know what the parameters were. But again, just as a question, if I were to, I think I'm going to answer my own question. If I were to start a petition, what would be the number of signatures that would be needed to
Get it on the agenda for town meeting?
you can go to the town, or you can go to the town clerk, she'll let you know those numbers.
The town clerk
Yeah.
will tell you that there's a specific amount of signatures that you'd need.
And they'll tell you how the signatures need to be, that they
Okay.
gotta be in a certain way, right down the hall there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And then one more thing, if I may, just to add information, I think, and I might have touched on it at the last meeting, was just to start to educate our townspeople on, and again, their choice, but give them information pro and con. And so again, I would like to let the board know that I am going to start contacting, say, elder services, the town PTOs, just to get the information out there so that our townspeople can make a more educated decision on, again, if they're pro or con. So just to let you know.
Okay, all right.
Any questions or comments? I mean, I'd certainly be.
No, we just get that stuff you got to Jennifer, so the board can get it and review it and look at it, and there was some other stuff presented, so.
Other than
um,
that,
Yeah, and I think the stuff that was sent in, we can get to you too, so you can see the other side as well.
Call me before you come in, so I can have the stuff ready. Like I said,
I don't think you were here, but the secretary's been out sick,
the
so.
secretary's been out sick, and today was like,
It's like a Monday.
and my phone didn't work. And my phone didn't work.
A hairy Monday.
It wasn't a good day.
So thank you. Now, we're looking to continue discussion. Are we 2 weeks, a month?
So let's talk about that a little bit, because are we gonna have somebody else come in?
If you want, I will get some.
Why don't we do in 2 weeks? We can have the people from the state come in. Yeah.
All right, so that would be,
And if you're available to come in and listen. Okay, all right. All right. Everybody, more than welcome, please.
let me just,
Why is it 2 weeks from tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah, we, Board of Health usually meets every 2 weeks, Monday nights,
well,
barring,
we usually meet 2 weeks apart every month.
Okay.
Not 3 times a month if we can get away with it,
Right.
depending on the calendar.
so we have the 20th is the next meeting,
Ms. Fitzgerald, you heard that too in
Yes.
2 weeks? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
and then the 3rd and the 17th in June. And the 17th, assuming I'm here, would be my last here.
That's it, huh?
So, 13 years.
You going out on that number?
He's not going 5.
No, just see on a different night. So, and it's up to the rest of the board, but I just having spent all this time on this, I would.
No, it would be good
hopefully we could
because,
probably target either the first or second meeting in June to wrap up the fluoride discussion.
I agree with you because we've had good discussion from both sides and seeing some more discussion, and I think that would be appropriate as well, so.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to the attention. Retirement. Well, there you go. So we'll continue the discussion. And, administrative invoice approvals, I think we passed all those around and we're done. Next meeting date is Monday, May 20th, 2013. And the last thing I see on here, unless there's anything from the audience, nothing.
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor, adjourned. Thank you.